Welcome to episode 4 of trying every climbing gym in New York City. Today, I'm at Vital in the Upper West Side. I'll go over their training tools and then jump into the climbing to get a feel for the route setting. At the end, I'll decide where this gym belongs on my tier list. This is the main bouldering area on the first floor. On the far side, there's this cool arch feature. There's also a climbing area upstairs with shorter walls and more technical vert and slab climbs. For training tools, they have hangboards and campus boards. The gym only has one rack, a bench, and very few free weights, but it was closed for my visit, so I don't know if it's usually better than that. Upstairs, they also have a treadmill and a bike for cardio. Now, let's get into the climbing. As per usual, I'll start with V0 and work my way up to around V4 and V5. This felt a bit harder than most V0s by about half a grade. The wall is overhung, the holds aren't pure jugs, and the feet are a bit small. And some of the moves are bigger than I expected. Next up is this purple V1. It's on vert terrain, and the holds are actual jugs, but the moves are much bigger. I love these kinds of climbs. They're very flowy and satisfying, and make me feel like I'm good at climbing, even if I'm not. I move on to this white V2. This one has some pretty dope movement. There's a cute step through and move that's almost like a crossover without actually crossing. Then check out this back step with a deep drop knee. And this top part felt pretty scrunched, even for a shotty like me. Next up is this purple V3. Just another juggy boy with some fun movement. I have no idea why I like step throughs and crossovers so much, as opposed to swapping feet and matching or bumping hands. Maybe I'm just trying to pretend to be more flowy, but it definitely doesn't work on harder climbs. I move on to this orange V4. It starts with a big step up move from an undercling to a crimp. I thought the rest of the holds looked okay, but the sequence really messed me up. Why are all the holds facing to the right? I'm not trying to bump my left hand to 3 different Gastons, bro. I just yeet for the side pull and slide off because I can't reach the good part. And, as all good climbers do, I said that boulder sucks and chose a different one. This black one looked like it had some good holds. I failed to realize that there were 3 crimps in this middle section though. I was totally planning to dead point this move, but I just couldn't generate on the crimps and had to be a lock off loser instead. Next up is this white V5. All of the holds are shallow jugs, but the difficulty comes from how steep the wall is and how angled some of the holds are. It starts with a big cross. Then you unwind to a Gaston, which appears to be a very common combo here. Then a deep lock off with a drop knee into another Gaston. And I'd say unwinding to the last hold is the crux, because the right hand feels kind of bad, but you just gotta trust the right foot. I move on to this red V5. I'm not sure why I tried this, because the holds are literally these tiny circles that are only a few millimeters thick. Look, I'm no size queen, but give me something to work with. And on top of that, it's not even slab or vert, it's overhung. Trying to dead point this was actually just asking for a miracle. I used my brain and worked my feet up. I still missed the hold completely, but rocking over my foot was pretty stable. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to walk my feet to the right, but the position just feels so bad. And higher feet will make the holds feel even worse. So once again, I've been defeated, and move on to this pink V5. This is like the only vert part of the wall, and the holds looked a lot better than the last climb. And then I realized swapping hands is going to be kind of hard because it's a crimp. So this time, I mantle on the start hold and get a high left foot. I try to cross over, but I have the tiniest foot slip. This time, I try to bump my right hand, but my foot slips and I absolutely destroy my shin. Finally, I land it. The next move looks pretty far, so I decide to go out left to a foot chip to work my right foot up. And from there, I can get the next hold statically. Now the problem is, I don't trust that left hand, so I bump it. I try to salvage the position by getting wide feet for a stable base to swap hands. But my right foot slips and I come off. I run the ending with the correct beta. The first move is pretty hard, but then I can just reach over and grab the next hold. But now I have to be delicate because the holds aren't great. The last hold is a lot further than I thought it would be, but it's pretty positive, so I'm able to stick the finish. Time to try from the beginning. This bump out of the mantle is still really hard. The right foot is blocked and blind underneath the orange hold, and the big purple hold pushes you away from the wall. Finally, I'm able to land it again. This is such a sick boulder. The mantle move is awesome, and then the ending is super delicate with a dynamic move to finish it off. Next up is this yellow V5. It starts on a big sloper, and then the rest of the holds are these tiny dual text circles. The top parts are a little in-cut and have a bit of texture. The second to last hold is a tiny crimp, and then the finish hold is a jug. The first move is pretty cool. You lock off to the first circle and then flip your hand to a mantle and get a high foot. The next section is just a bit of a delicate ladder. I find that the best way to actually grab these holds is by kind of meat hooking it, but with just your index finger. And then you get your thumb involved by pinching it a little bit. The second to last hold actually felt like the worst hold of the entire climb. I actually take my hand off and try to generate momentum with it, but I just barely can't reach the good part of the last hold. I try slowly working up my right foot, but I wet fire off my right hand. I work the ending and commit to pulling off the left hand crimp, and I'm able to land it. So back to trying it from the ground. But once again, my right hand just slips off. I bring my chalk back, but just can't reach the last hold. This time, I just barely cash in a 4-finger drag, but then my fingers start letting go one by one. But it's actually my right hand popping again that makes me fall. Also, I almost break my ankles here. The mats are a lot softer than I'm used to, and I wasn't prepared for that fall. This time, I'm finally able to send it. This climb had a sick first move and last move with some interesting holds in the middle. I move on to this blue V4. It looks pretty straightforward on a mixture of slopers and pinches. This high step through to lay back against the left hand is super cool. For the end, you just really have to trust that left foot. So far, I've noticed that a lot of the climbs have very scary and committing moves to jugs for the finish. Next up is this white V4. It's got a little bit of everything with in-cut crimps, flat holds, and slopers. And it's very technical on more vertical terrain. The beginning isn't so bad since you have good feet underneath you. Here, I get a little lost in the sauce. I want to bump my left hand again so I can go to the finish hold with my right hand. But instead, I step through and go up with my right hand. For the finish, I cross over with my left hand, but then I end up backwards. I find a left toe hook and I'm able to get the match. This is probably my coolest finish of all time. 10 out of 10 if that movement is intended. I move on to this red V4. It looks like a bunch of jugs in the steep, so I thought it would be easy. The block hold tripped me up, and I actually almost fell here. The rest of the climb wasn't hard, but I must have been cooked already because I was struggling to hold on. Next up is this orange V4. It starts on a couple of good holds, and you make a huge move to another decent hold. There are a couple of football-shaped slopers, and then some slopey but positive side pulls before finishing on a jug. The first move is way bigger than it looks. I had to walk my feet out and smear on the smooth wood to reach. I try to handheel match, but there's no room, so you have to get a super high left foot to move out to the slopers. I get this cute little toe hook to move my right hand. I lock off for the next hold, but I lose my right foot and it rips me away from the wall. This time, I take my right foot off and flag it in advance, and I can make the next move. Bumping my right hand to the side pull was brutal, and it took so much tension to hold the position, and these holds were also killing my wrists. but I was able to power through it and make a big move to the finish. This is probably my favorite V4 in the gym. Every move is just so sick. I move on to this purple V5. It starts with a mix of flat and slightly positive holds. Then there are a couple of pinches, and a big move to a jug around the lip. I'm really slow and inefficient on this bottom part because I'm feeling the positions and trying to figure out my sequence and foot placements. This is where the climb gets hard for me. I suck at pinches, and try to take my thumb off and turn them into side pulls as often as I can. I want to go up left hand to the pinch, but it feels really hard from this position, so I swap feet and bump my right hand. But the position feels really bad, so I desperately throw to the last hold and don't stick it. This time I try a drop knee to go with my left, but it's so hard to keep tension. I commit to just perching on the left foot, and it works out. But the hold just feels so bad for some reason, and it feels worse to actually pinch it. I can't generate, and don't get deep enough on the last hold. This time, I almost hold a wicked one-arm swing. I take a crazy 360 fall, and decide to move on for my own safety. Next up is this yellow V4. It's all jugs on a very steep part of the wall. My left foot pops here, and I take a massive swing, but I think you have to move your feet over to the left anyway, so it works out. For some reason, this hold felt really bad, and when I got my left foot up, it felt even worse. I can't generate at all, and I don't even come close to the next hold. I try matching hands, but I still can't grab the next hold. I assumed I was just too cooked and moved on. I move on to this blue V4. This one is just a bunch of jugs on a roof. It's hard to tell what's going on in there, but this first part is all about keeping tension in your feet. I toe hook the star hold so I can cross over with my left hand. I place my right foot really sloppily here, and I cut feet while making the move. The foothold is massive, so I really shouldn't be making mistakes like that. I find switching from overhang to more vertical terrain is pretty hard, especially since your feet aren't directly under you and the direction of forces isn't ideal. But the footholds actually felt pretty good here, and the ending isn't so bad. Next up is this green V4. At the beginning, all of the holds are positive slopey side pulls. The second to last hold is a slopey undercling, and then you match on the volume for the finish. The beginning is straightforward until you get to the second to last hold. I grab it as an overhead Gaston and then have to trust a slopey foothold to step up into it. On this first attempt, I can't really figure out how I'm supposed to balance to basically no hands match on the volume. I work the ending a bit and come up with this wacky beta where I put my right hand behind me so I can turn around and jam my hips into the hold. It's kind of awkward and tough to get into, but very stable once you get there. So time to run it from the ground. and I'm able to send it. Overall, the boulder is pretty fun. You definitely gotta use your brain a little bit. I move on to this orange V5. It's a slab where all of the holds are crimps and slopers. The start is tricky because the foothold is relatively high, so your arms are hella bent. It's hard to generate on those holds, so I decided to just stand up higher and lock off harder to get to the next hold statically. The next move is a left hand bump, but the hold is so far away. I want to mantle on my right hand, but it feels bad. This time, I flip my right hand to an undercling, and I can mantle to stand up and get my left foot up. Then I can bump my left hand easily. I go for the next hold, but don't reach it. I use a higher foothold, but can't stay on. The higher foothold made the left crimp feel a lot worse, and my hips were being pushed away from the wall. This time, I go dynamically from the lower foothold, and I'm able to stick it. I really had to focus on extending through every part of my body to reach. Overall, this is a decent boulder with a couple of cool moves. Next up is this pink V5. It starts on a slopey jug. The rest of the holds are pinches in the cave. From here, the pinches are bigger and have slopey screw-on crimps. I try to dead point to the next hold, but it's so hard to keep tension in the overhang. This time, I hold it, but look at the swing I have to control. The next moves aren't so bad since you have a jug right foot. Moving to the crimp screw-ons is kinda hard though. My left leg swings out like crazy. My only thought is to get a left toe hook, but I can't even get in that position with these holds. But I think I'm all powered out, so I decided to check out the more vertical stuff upstairs, starting with this orange V4. It's a bunch of slopey crimps and pinches. Check out the sick beta. Bump right hand. Bump right hand again. Believe it or not, bump right hand yet again. Mantle on foothold with thumb, and fall off. Truly one of the tactical decisions of all time. I actually read it as going with my left hand, but it just felt so much better to go with my right. And from this position, it makes sense to go for the higher hold on the right. Next up is another orange V4. All of the holds are in-cut crimps. You traverse left to some holds on the volumes, and then go straight up. The crimp underclings were actually a lot harder to hold than I thought they would be, especially on the biceps. I make a desperate throw to the next hold, and luckily I'm able to land it. This V4 was just okay. I move on to this yellow V4. All of the holds are flat and angled as side pulls. You traverse right and then go straight up to finish on the top edge. This first section was a bit sketchy on my flash go. You grab two side pulls to get pretty good compression, but then you have to trust some pretty sketchy feet. Keeping tension on the volume when moving the left hand is pretty hard. There's this pretty cool pincer move with your left leg that lets you cross over the next hold. And then I shift it to a toe hook to get my hips over to the right so I can move my right foot up. But the left hand isn't great, and I found it hard to keep tension. This time, I try getting my right hand onto the hold to see if it helps me move my feet. But it feels a lot worse, so I undo it. I try to move my left leg, but can't control the barn door. I work the ending and find that if I grab the left hand perfectly, then I can move my right foot and go for the top edge. So time to try from the beginning. Here, I struggle to find a good position for my right hand. I try again, but still feel unstable. I work the ending in isolation to practice the position. And I do it again. And again. I realized that I want to turn it into a side pull as much as possible. I had tried meat hooking the top part to maximize friction, but the downward force is awful for the angle of the hold. It's much better to crimp it as a side pull. So this time, I'm able to send it. I highly recommend projecting crux moves until they're high percentage. Even if you can't put it into words why something works, sometimes you just need your body to subconsciously learn the moves and positions. To finish off my session, I choose this green V4. All of the holds are slopey crimps, and the 3 in the middle are blocked. The beginning isn't too hard since the footholds are pretty good. I end up in this cross arm position, and the next hold is pretty far. I think about a dynamic move, but I don't feel like the holds are good enough to generate from and control the swing. So I get a high left foot and step up into it, but can't land it. I stand up and try to statically cross over, but I just slip off the hold. I work the ending and get my right foot up, then I bump my right hand to avoid the crossover, and the position feels a lot better. So I learned that it's better to work your feet up high, even if it makes the handholds feel worse and forces you to bend your arms like crazy, which makes sense for slab since more weight should be in your feet anyway. But I'm able to get the send. So, after my session, what do I think of Vital in the Upper West Side? To be honest, I wasn't impressed with their training tools. They have hangboards and campus boards, but they don't have any training boards, and the gym is pretty lackluster and wasn't even open. The route setting is just okay. They have a lot of traditional and tensioning climbs with some cool moves, but I feel like there's more room for basic techniques like heel hooks and toe hooks. There's also a lack of competition style movement. I didn't see a single dyno in the V4/V5 grade range. So, for the lack of training tools and one-dimensional setting, I'll put this gym in C tier. What do you think of this gym? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you're interested in more New York City climbing gym reviews, check out this playlist right over here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!